It has taken until September, but familiar faces are beginning to rejoin the fold for the New York Mets. When Carlos Beltran left the lineup in June, the Mets were contenders in the National League East. Now 2.5 months later, he's back simply to be able to play out the string. Beltran's bat is back in the lineup tonight, and the Mets are happy to have him. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Florida Marlins. This Mets game on SNY is presented in HD by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez with you tonight as the Mets open a 3-game series against the Florida Marlins. And for the first time since June the 21st, the Mets will have Carlos Beltran playing in center field.
Well, he's going to be batting cleanup tonight, and what a welcome to this lineup. The lineup has much more depth tonight, and you can see right here, Carlos, when he went down with the injury, was having a terrific season. He was the one guy in the lineup that got Citi Field. He hit line drives all over the place, used both gaps, was hitting .336 with 8 home runs and 40 RBI. So he's welcomed back by the Mets, who plan to be a little bit of a spoiler here in September.
So Beltran will hit cleanup behind David Wright. It makes the Mets lineup look so much more formidable. There you see the numbers on what Beltran has done so far this year. 70 games missed, and in those 70 games, the Mets were merely 28-42 and went from 2 games behind the Phillies to buried in the National League East over that period of time. And so now Beltran will play these final 25 or so games, play most of them anyway, and try and get a head start on 2010. Remember, he has 2 more years left on his contract with the Mets. As for the pitching tonight, Tim Redding, who has taken over a rotation spot over the last 3 turns, has been terrific.
He really has. He's pitched into the 7th inning his last 2 starts, going 6 2/3 each time. The great thing about Redding is that he has been working quickly, throwing strikes, doing all the things that the Mets weren't doing before. Jerry Manuel's self-acclaimed Fab Five, he has been outstanding. And going against a young pitcher for the Florida Marlins and Rick Vandenhert, who is from the Netherlands, he has struggled really in his time in the major leagues. Has always featured a good curveball, now has gone to a slider to go with that sinking fastball. He'll have his work cut out for him with the Beltran added to the Mets lineup.
Vandenhert added to the roster when the roster's expanded on September 1st. The Marlins are still in the race, 5.5 out of the wild card, 6 in the division, and the Mets will try and play spoiler tonight. All the action on SNY. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. By Pella Windows, the Mets official window and door replacement company. Call 866-64-PELLA for special savings today. By the Heart Hospital of Queens at New York Hospital of Queens. By Gallagher Steakhouse, home of sports heroes past and present in Broadway's Theater District at West 52nd Street since 1927. And by the Rums of Puerto Rico, inviting you to enjoy the finest rums of the world. If you're traveling and you can't watch your Mets on SNY, you can always catch the game on your computer with MLB.tv, the ultimate baseball experience featuring 100 out-of-market games per week live on your computer. And catch those you missed on demand. For more details, visit Mets.com, where baseball is always on. Sweep around the majors last night. Chris Carpenter solidified his hold on the Cy Young lead. A complete game one-hitter, 10 strikeouts. He's now 16-3, 2.16. Cardinals beat the Brewers 3-0. Their magic number down to 14. Pirates lost to the Cubs yesterday afternoon, 4-2. The Pirates' 82nd loss. They have now clinched their 17th straight losing season, the most for any North American professional sports franchise. And Juan Uribe with 2 homers and 5 RBIs, and great pitching for Brad Penny as well, as the Giants beat the Padres 9-4 to stay 2 back of the Rockies in the wild card race. Carlos Beltran getting set for his return to the lineup. Met fans getting ready as well. First pitch from Citi Field coming right up. Smirnoff, Chris Coghlan moving into the Rookie of the Year conversation with a 14-game hitting streak going. It's pushed his average up to 310 for the year. Nick Johnson has gotten back to good health after missing the series against the Mets in Florida with a hamstring injury. Hanley Ramirez leading the world in batting. And you see the rest of the Marlins starting lineup, including Cameron Maybin, who was called up September 1st. And Tim Redding makes his 4th start since returning to the Mets rotation.
We talked a little bit about him in the opening. He has been outstanding, but his season record is 2-4 with a 5.7 ERA. He's 36-55 lifetime. His last 3 starts, we talked 18 1/3, only 5 runs given up. And against the Marlins in his career, 13 games started, 5 up, 5 down, but 13 home runs in 66 2/3 innings. And the Lexus Metzi defense. Hello, look at that. Mr. Beltran, the three-time Gold Glover, he's back in the lineup and in center field, which moves Angel Pagan over to left. Angel's done a terrific job out in center field. Well, he's in left field now. He's been swinging such a hot bat. He's in the lineup. He's staying in the lineup. And young Josh Tolley behind the plate.
Well, there is Beltran, who played 5 games on rehab down in Brooklyn. And the last 2, he played 9 innings out in the field. And after the last game, finally was able to say, I'm 100% and ready to come back. And the plan now for Jerry Manuel is to play him 2 days, sit him a day, play him 3 days, sit him a day, and see where they go from there over the last 3.5 weeks of the season.
Well, it's hard to tell through the uniform, but I thought he was going to be wearing a brace. He might not be.
Well, he did not wear it during his rehab in Brooklyn.
That's great. That's good news. Well, you just don't want to jeopardize the future with this young man out there. He's in the prime of his career.
Chris Coughlin will lead things off for the Marlins, who are still trying to stay in contact in the National League East and in the National League wild card race. They've gotten a break this last weekend with the Phillies getting swept 4 games by the Astros. They're just 6 back in the division, which is a big hill to climb with 20-some games to go in the season, but at least they have not gotten buried. The Marlins have won 4 of their last 5. And Redding starts the night by missing high with a fastball 1-0, although it could have been a whole lot better for Florida, but they blew a game on Sunday that they had in their pocket.
Ryan Zimmerman hit the 2-run homer to win that ball game off Leo Nunez.
Nunez came in with a 2-run lead through 5 pitches and lost the game.
And Brad Lidge blew another save in Houston in that 4-game sweep. No, that's the reason. Lidge is the reason that Philadelphia Phillies aren't just walking away with the division.
2-1 to Coughlin.
And you hear Charlie Manuel, he called out his team. He said, this team has played the last couple of weeks like they have already won the division. A lot can happen in the last month, and if they don't change it around, it might happen to us. Well, Charlie is not afraid to chew out his ball club, and has called them complacent earlier in the year. So they have a lot of respect for Charlie. He's done a terrific job with that Philly team. They're so talented.
Phillies playing in Washington tonight.
And that's Pedro pitching tonight for the Phillies.
Against John Lannon.
Coming off a gem, Pedro.
2-2 to Coughlin, and he chases a high fastball, and Redding has fanned the first man to face him. 1 out.
Well, just a high fastball here, Keith. Just a pitch that you wouldn't want to see your leadoff hitter swing through, and you can see how angry Coughlin was. He just was beat badly as the fastball up in the strike zone. Ron, that kind of takes off. Kind of like Nolan Ryan, although I think Nolan Ryan probably threw it another 9 or 10 miles per hour faster.
So 1 out and nobody on, and now Nick Johnson, who was acquired by the Marlins from the Nationals at the trading deadline, but has played just 16 games with Florida because of a hamstring injury. Did not play at all against the Mets when they were in Florida on the last road trip, and finally wound up on the DL. Nick hitting an even .300 on the year. 3rd in the National League in on-base percentage at .421.
This position of hitting second in the order is about as good as it gets for Mr. Johnson, hitting right in front of Hanley Ramirez. You're going to get some pitches to hit. I still think that, I agree with you 100%, but I like Nick in the 3rd hole. And maybe strengthen your lineup, give it more depth. But who do you have to hit second in this lineup? You don't have a second-place hitter.
Hanley Ramirez bats 3rd. Well, they could hit Baker second.
Yeah, you could, but you lose some speed.
Yeah.
I always thought, though, the problem with Johnson is he walks so much out of that 3rd hole, Keith, Yeah. You can change that, Hey, Nick, I want you to swing the bat. I mean, Whitey told me once again one year, he said, Keith, I think you're walking a little. You're taking too many pitches. You're walking too much. I want you to swing the bat when men are on base. You're hot. Swing it. I said, okay.
1-2 from Redding, and he goes away with the fastball. Well, Nick Johnson is going to be a free agent at the end of the season, and it's certainly problematic for the Marlins as to whether they can afford to keep him around, although they'd certainly like to. And Johnson takes the slider 3-2. The thing about Johnson is when he goes in the free agent market, how much and how many years will teams be willing to offer him with his injury history?
I mean, he is a guy that when he plays can't be any more productive than he is, but you know, he's not a 150 game a year player.
And he takes the walk, and he's aboard with 1 out.
Interesting choice there, wasn't it, Keith? 3-2 Johnson in the first inning. Slider.
With a red-hot Hanley Ramirez, who's got a lock on this batting title. I think he'd have to really collapse to lose the batting title to Pujols.
He's got a 30-plus point lead going into the final 3.5 weeks of the season.
And the defense is going to play him. You see Carlos Beltran in center field. He's kind of shifting over. How about that? I was just going to say, playing him shaded in the pole, but now it's a shade of the opposite field.
And Pagan also in left field, moving a couple of steps toward left center. And that's what the Mets have been doing lately, shading that gap in left center.
And I couldn't agree with you more. The ball down the line's a double anyway. Take away the gaps. This is a big ballpark.
And I do think Pagan, although I think Sullivan to me is a better outfielder, Pagan has more speed, so he can come to the line and maybe make some of those plays.
Well, the defense is immeasurably improved with Beltran back in center field. And that's no slight to Pagan. Pagan is a very adept outfielder, and he's got a whole outfield now that since Stratomatic, there's all 3 2s out there.
See the National League batting race. Ramirez with an almost insurmountable lead. Good slider by Redding, and it's 0-2 to Ramirez, who was 9 for 19 against Redding with 3 home runs.
A good first pitch slider from Redding, who looks like he wants to feature this pitch early and often. One thing I noticed, though, about 5 or 6 shakeoffs so far between Redding and Tolley as they're trying to get on the same page.
First time around for the veteran pitcher with the young catcher, just the 3rd big league start for Tolley.
Look at that helmet. Now, if he was a Met, Charlie would never let him get away with it.
He would not stand for
Charlie, it takes pride in polishing and keeping the helmets neat. That is ugly.
It's not the most defaced helmet that we've ever seen, though. Some guys get all that crud. Remember Biggio and the helmet he used to have? On the inside corner, strike 3 call. Redding got the fastball over. 2nd strikeout in the opening inning for Tim Redding.
Boy, I love this pitch here. When you get ahead and a breaking ball count, Redding counters with a good fastball that hits that inside corner.
Well, all the pitches away, and then set up with 1 and 2, a fastball in, and just locked them up. Good pitching.
That's worked since the beginning of time, hasn't it?
It's still baseball 101, is it not?
So 2 out. Johnson still at first. Here's Jorge Cantu. And he takes high for ball 1.
Your Cantu is one of these guys that isn't pretty. It doesn't, whatever he does in the field with the bat, it's not pretty. But I tell you what, he's had himself a pretty doggone good year. He's going to probably drive in 90 runs.
He's got a 7-game hitting streak going right now.
I think there's a toughness to Cantu that you have to account for. He's a guy who played a lot of the first month and a half of the season with a bad hand that was injured. Still stayed in there every single day. Started playing a position that he's not used to at first base until they got Johnson. Now back at 3rd.
Shallow center field. First chance for Beltran. And Carlos makes it look easy. And Redding is done with the 1st inning. Mets come to bat in the bottom of the 1st with no score. with a different look when you've got right in the 3-hole and Beltran in the cleanup spot. More like the way things were supposed to be in 2009. Carlos was off to a rollicking start when he first hurt his knee, went out for a while, came back, played with that knee hurting for a few weeks, and was able to keep his numbers up before the knee forced him out of action.
Well, Rick Vandenherk was recalled on September 1st. He's made a couple of starts. He's 2-2. You can see his record there. But he's given up 9 home runs in 36 2/3 innings pitched. That's not a good number. 7 for his career.
Not overpowering.
Angel Pagan riding a 7-game hitting streak, stays in the leadoff spot, playing left field tonight. Jerry Manuel has said that Corey Sullivan will continue to get some time in left field, and Beltran will get the day off here and there.
Well,
so that'll keep both those guys in.
Sullivan had a nice statement with those 2 home runs.
He did.
And a couple of fine defensive plays as well. Pagan pops one foul out of play.
Sullivan, you would have liked this, Keith. Sullivan hit those 2 home runs in successive days. I saw Hojo the other day. I said, hey, Hojo, you've been working with Sully, huh?
Haji. There he is. There's Corey. He was home in Denver. It looked like it did him some good. Had a nice series in Denver as well.
Sullivan has hit in 6 straight games with a couple of home runs along the way.
There's that slider, Ronnie, that Vandenherk is throwing and got away from the big curveball when he showed last year when he came up.
Well, he had the big curveball, but he couldn't throw it for strikes. So what they've done is tighten it up just a little bit so he has a little better chance of throwing that over. But, you know, that had a big dot on it. When you see a big dot, it gives a hitter a good shot.
It's a flat slider, too. And the Ford Marlin defense. And you can see Ramirez. They've said he's just played really the best defense of his career. I don't know if hitting .359 has anything to do with it, but he hasn't made an error in 51 games. And in center field, the promising young rookie who got sent down, Cameron Maybin.
1-2 to Pagan leading off, and he takes a slider, and that just missed. 2-2. Pagan hitting at .301.
Wow.
Carlos Beltran getting ready for his first at bat. 2.5 months away. Veteran player to left field, and Coughlin coming toward the line. And right as he gets to the sidewall, he gets there, he flips, and he has the ball in his glove, and that's an out. Coughlin hitting that low fence and hanging onto the baseball.
That's a nice catch right there. Having to negotiate. Look at the third base umpire. We got him in the shot. He's limping down that line. That's Bob Davidson. But what a catch.
What you have to remember is before this season, he only had 1 game in the minor leagues in the outfield. Mr. Coughlin was an infielder. And this is another thing that they love about the young rookie left fielder. He plays awfully tough out there in left.
Might also say that, you know, Pagan hit that ball. That play was reminiscent of the play Pagan got hurt on last year at Dodger Stadium.
You're absolutely right.
Hurt his shoulder, didn't he, Gary?
Well, he flipped over the short fence at Dodger Stadium, and then he hit his left shoulder on a railing, which ultimately ended his season. Luis Castillo hitting at .311. There's Pagan, who probably figured he was either going to have a hit or his at bat was going to continue. But Coughlin with a fine play for the first out. Castillo drops one down. Vandenherk with the bare hand play, and he got him for the second out.
Nice play by Vandenherk there. He's all 6'5", 195 pounds. A lot of legs there and arms. Didn't rush, Ronnie.
Yeah, that was a nice job. One getting it with the bare hand. It was a nice bunt by Castillo. Got out of the box well.
Nice play.
So 2 out and nobody on, and now David Wright. David 5th in the National League with a .323 average, hitless in his last 7 at bats after making a fast start, returning from concussion. So David's been back a week. Beltran's back tonight. John Maine probably returning on Sunday. Just a shade too late to make a big difference as far as where the Mets are going to finish up this year, but encouraging in terms of looking forward to next year.
Well, the Mets want to finish 500. They better not lose 6 more games.
In order to finish 500, the Mets would have to go 20-5 the rest of the way. 2-1 to right. Brian Schneider, who has been something of a mentor for Josh Tolley since he arrived. Good off-speed pitch by Vandenhurk, and it's 2-2. Rick Vandenhurk, just 23 years old, born in the Netherlands. And there's Beltran on deck. I was going to ask you, Keith.
Yes.
Veteran player, first game back. Is he nervous? Strike 3 called as Wright is down looking.
Yes, you'll be nervous your first at bat. Absolutely.
1-2-3 inning for Vandenhurk. We go to the second. No score. The Empire State Building.
Is that the blimp?
What's going on the 101st floor there? John Baker will lead off for the Marlins in the second inning. Baker, who's been splitting time behind the plate with Ronnie Polino, having a nice first full year in the big leagues, hitting at .276. Hasn't done much against the Mets, though, just 1 for 20.
He struggled against left-handers, hitting only .161 on the year.
And so they've pretty much decided to platoon him with Polino, who's done a nice job from the right side.
He's become the Ramon Castro, hasn't he? A guy with a lot of power and he's hit a few home runs. Did a big one against the Mets down there at, what is it, Landshark Field? Or
for now.
Yeah.
2-0 to Baker with Dan Uggla and Cody Ross to follow. And Redding missing high, and it's 3-0.
You know, Keith, much like Derek Lee for the Cubs, who had a big series this weekend, watching Baker is another guy that is totally open before the ball approaches.
We see a lot more hitters to ball 4 there today that hit with an open stance.
Sir Redding walks the leadoff hitter in the second. Dan Uggla coming up. Time for Ron's inside pitch on Tim Redding, part of the business of baseball, brought to you by Xerox, ready for real business.
Well, it hasn't worked as much so far, but he has been working very quickly and throwing strikes, not walking hitters, but a couple here today. He's tough on righties. Righties are hitting less than 60 points than the left-handed hitters, and excellent control lately. We talked about the lack of walks. Really, it's something that has bothered this entire staff all year, but the last time through the rotation, there has not been walks, and the Mets are playing better.
It's 5 in a row out of the strike zone from Redding. In fact, these last 5 games, the Mets starting pitcher's gone at least 6 innings in each game and issued a total of 9 walks in 34 2/3 innings. So That's a big turnaround from what it has been for most of the year.
Well, he got a great performance and a shame he got a no decision. And Bobby Parnell, who had been struggling, he threw brilliant 7. Pelfrey yesterday, I thought the big comment from him was he came to the park and told pitching coach Dan Warthen it stops today. I like that. I think you get fed up and you go, okay, there's only one person that's going to pull you out, and that's yourself. And you can sit there in this game, you can sit there and when you're going bad, and you can just think all the negative. And sometimes maybe, I'm not saying it in the Pelfrey's case, you can maybe feel sorry for yourself, and all of a sudden you wake up one morning and go, all right, enough. It stops here. And I love that quote in the paper.
I've done it in games before where you give up maybe a 3 spot in the first 3 or 4 innings, and you come in and go, listen, they are not getting another run. That's it. And you say it to your teammates, and they go out there and rebound from that.
Redding's thrown 7 straight balls to start the inning. And finally a strike to Uggla. Well, then you throw in the performances by Mish and Figueroa, and, you know, all of a sudden what they've been calling the Fab Five.
That's right.
Done a pretty nice job. Now they're going to get a 6th member of the Fab Five when John Main returns. John threw a bullpen session today.
And John, ball 4.
Back-to-back walks issued by Redding to start the 2nd inning. The Citi Field Fan Walk Amazing Moments bricks are on sale now. A new offering of bricks will be installed along the first and third base side of the Jackie Robinson Rotunda for the 2010 season. Order your Fan Walk brick today at Mets.com/fanwalk. All proceeds benefit charity through the Mets Foundation. Dan Warthen out for a conversation. Redding has faced 6 batters and walked 3 of the 6.
Well, he gets no rest here with Cody Ross. You got 3 members of this Marlins team with over 20 home runs, and this Cody Ross has had another good year, 20 home runs. Uggla 25 and Ramirez 21.
Ross is a very underrated player to me. He does a lot of things well, and he can play all 3 outfield positions.
Handled center field for most of this season and handled it much better than you would have anticipated. Now he's moved over to right with Cameron Maben back from the minors.
He's basically, there you see the balls and strikes, Ronnie.
Yeah, you don't like to see that.
It's backwards.
Well, Ross is basically a corner outfielder, but he's more a blue-collar journeyman player. And he's a guest hitter, too.
Yes,
Big
he
time.
is.
Big time.
He was sitting on slider right there.
Well, he's hit 20 home runs this year. We saw him hit 3 in a game against the Mets a couple of years ago. And there's Maben waiting on deck.
I guess to explain to you guys at home, because it's so obvious for Keith and I, guest hitters, Keith, how do you know you and I know when we see a guest hitter?
You take a fastball down the pipe.
That's right.
Particularly with 2 strikes. It doesn't really. Yeah, there's Joe McIlvaine.
Former Mets general manager, works these days for the Minnesota Twins.
Ronnie and I were around. He ran the farm system.
Well, he's been a big part, of course, of that success over there in Minnesota, where, I don't know, to me, I don't know if you guys agree, they've become almost a model for a lower market team that does not have a lot of cash. They can't spend money on their big players, i.e. Santana here with the Mets, but they seem to make the right trades and play the game the right way.
Well, the folks in Pittsburgh have talked about modeling their organization after Minnesota. Slowly hit. Hernandez allowed to hurry. Castillo with the turn, and they get the double play. Nicely done. 6-4-3 as Baker moves to third, 2 out.
Well, Ross doesn't run well. Didn't get out of the box. Got tied up with a fastball up and in, I believe. Nice turn. No wasted. Nice shovel. Right to Castillo, and beautiful turn.
So Redding gets exactly what he needs after the back-to-back walks. Baker at third with 2 out, and now Cameron Maben, who began the year with the Marlins as their everyday center fielder. He played about 5 weeks and then they sent him down. He was just not hitting enough. They called him back up when the rosters expanded. Maben hit .319 in AAA this year.
He was the part of that big deal with Detroit. He was one of the main men in that deal that the Marlins went for the youth.
Traded Miguel Cabrera and Dontrell Willis to Detroit. Got back Maben and Andrew Miller.
Maben's problem his entire career is that he has the 5 tools but he strikes out about a third of his at-bats, and that's been a problem.
You can have the 5 tools, and that means speed, but you can't steal first base. You got to hit.
Well, this year in the minors, he hit for average, but he didn't hit for power, and he didn't steal bases. He's one of those guys who's got speed, but hasn't really learned how to steal a base.
And he's also very young.
Don't forget, later in this game, you won't hear any of this chatter. We'll be on mute.
That's
during
right.
The silent sixth today.
A big smile went all over Queens right there.
It's like, honey, get the hot dogs and 6-pack ready for the 6th.
6-pack in the 6th?
Is that for them or for us?
Wow.
Down to third. And Wright playing in is there to grab it. And so Redding able to survive back-to-back walks to start the second inning and keep it scoreless. Will make his way to home plate in a Mets uniform.
That was a little bit premature, a little early. I mean, he had a nice welcome back from the folks.
Well, I think Met fans are thrilled to see Beltran back. Of course, he represents so much of what this team needs to be successful. And Carlos was playing so well despite playing with that bruised knee for the better part of a month. He was continuing to play well in the outfield, put up numbers offensively until it just became too much for him, and he had to shut it down, wait for that bruise to dissipate a little.
Nice cut on that fastball, Garrett. Vanderhurst, if he doesn't want to rub up a new one, he better get that ball down.
And Carlos takes a strike. Beltran in his 5th year of a 7-year deal with the Mets. And he was on pace when he went out of the lineup to have one of his best years. He strikes out in his first at bat back in the lineup. And Vanderhurst has his 2nd strikeout of the night.
Good changeup combo, Keith.
Nice and a good spot.
Kept it down after 3 successive fastballs.
That'll fool a lot of hitters.
And good movement late.
Little sinkage.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Daniel Murphy batting for the first time since his excellent day on Sunday. Single, triple, homer, 4 RBIs for Murphy, as he had all of the RBIs, and the Mets 4-2 win over the Cubs in Sunday's game.
Well, you always try to work in increments of 10, and Murph is 1 point away from getting into the 260 area. Hitting, it's got to be, at this point of the year, where for Murph, he's got over 400 at-bats. You're not going to have, the 3 for 4 is not going to raise your average like it's going to obviously do earlier in the year. And again, the 0 for 4 doesn't drop you as much.
Popped up on the left side. And Ramirez taking charge for the second out. So 5 up and 5 down for Vandenherk. And let's get Ronnie's inside pitch on Rick Vandenherk, part of the business of baseball, brought to you by Xerox, ready for real business.
Well, the World Baseball Classic victim, what I mean by that is he came back and he'd hurt his elbow inflammation to start the season. 28 starts, never has gone into the 7th inning. That's very unusual, and we talked about it before, working on that slider as opposed to that big overhand curveball that he used to use.
Here's Jeff Francoeur, who's in a bit of a lull, and he takes ball 1. Francoeur just 3 for his last 23.
Well, he's stayed hot for so long since being traded over.
And you have to wonder whether that thumb at some point starts to affect him.
Yeah, he's the kind of player, though, he won't talk too much about it, I'll tell you that, and he won't use it as a crutch or an excuse. And that's very attractive in a player.
Josh Thole hitting 7th in the order, waiting on deck.
Well, the Mets can kind of play footloose and fancy free here. You know, you got this Marlin team that really put a hurt on this Met club the last 2 years. The Marlins just, you know, they're in a tough spot. They can't afford to lose. The Mets could really put a hurt on them.
Francoeur gets under 1 into foul ground. Well, each of the last 2 seasons, the Marlins finished the year at Shea Stadium and each time knocked the Mets out of the postseason on the final day. Situation's a little different here.
Yes.
The Marlins are clinging to life, 5.5 back in the wild card, 6 back in the division, and still 3.5 weeks to go.
And 1 team to climb over, too. 2 teams to climb over.
The Mets will see the Marlins later in September in Florida, but this series is their last here at Citi Field.
Well, the Marlins got to do what Colorado's doing, and Colorado's not losing. I mean, they're just keep winning.
Ball 4, and Francoeur, for the 2nd straight game, has drawn an unintentional walk. First base runner of the night for the Mets. The problem for the Rockies right now, Troy Tulowitzki left their game yesterday with a back strain, and if he's out for any period of time, I don't see any way they can win without him.
He is the backbone of that organization, despite his tender age. He's a take charge kind of young man.
Well, they made that trade for Jose Contreras, and he went out his first outing and pitched a good ball game for the Rockies. How about Penny? 2 for the Giants.
Well, it doesn't say too much about the National League, does it? It says like all these pitchers that are struggling pitching in the American League come over here and they're styling right now in the National League.
Josh Thole 4 for 9 through his first 2 big league games. It's this one along the left field side, and that'll go out of play. 1-1. Jerry Manuel has said he wants Thole to catch tonight and tomorrow. First time he will have caught back-to-back games. He caught Pat Mish the first game he started in Colorado, and they had a fine day together, so I think it was with Mish pitching tomorrow, that's a good time to send Thole out there back-to-back.
Yeah, for the first time to introduce myself to Mr. Thole today. What a nice kid he is.
And a guy that chokes up on the bat considerably. As you can see, and very widespread. It's something he changed, and I think he's a little bit too wide. But, you know, we don't want to change him right now. He was up to last month. Let him be comfortable here. He's just getting his feet wet. Literally getting his feet wet. You know, I always feel if you're spread out too much, Gary, you lock your hips and you lose your power. And I just feel that he's a little bit too spread.
And he's very consciously done that. He has completely suppressed his power, although he hits this one well to left center, and Maben is there to grab it and end the inning. But I've watched him in batting practice. He can hit the ball out of the ballpark. We'll see whether eventually he tries to do that. We go to the 3rd. No score. great sandwiches.
Oh, boy. Do we love it when they run over some sandwiches for us on those day games.
What do we have? Is it the turkey and mozzarella that we love? Oh.
With the roasted peppers. Unbelievable.
Forget about it.
Hint, hint.
Drooling aloud. Rick Vandenherk leads off and takes a strike. Vandenherk 0 for 13 this year, 1 for 39 in his career, and 25 strikeouts in those 39 at-bats. Rick Vandenherk, who was the answer to the trivia question, who is the second winningest pitcher in Major League history who was born in the Netherlands?
Who's the first?
We know number one.
Number one should be in the Hall of Fame.
Bert Blyleven's number one with 287. Vandenherk is second with 7. Of course, there's only one other pitcher who's ever won a game in the big leagues from the Netherlands. Head out to right field for Frank Core, and that was Win Remmerswaal, who pitched for the Red Sox back in the late 70s. He won 3 games. One out and nobody on. Now Chris Coghlan. Of course, that doesn't, as you look at the AT&T high-speed pitch, Vandenherk topping out at 92 and Redding at 91. That does not include the pitchers who were born in the Netherlands Antilles.
Yes.
The Chevron Martises and Sidney Ponsones.
Let me ask you a question. What justification do any of the writers have for not having Blyleven in the Hall of Fame? What do they use as an argument? He's got over 3,000 punch-outs, 287 victories. He was on a World Championship team, 79.
They made Don Sutton wait an awful long time.
I think he was on 2 championship teams. He's on that 87 Twin team, too.
And at the same time, when you look at the number of wins he has, he also pitched for a lot of really bad teams.
That's right.
And accumulated victories for teams that, you know, didn't give him a whole lot of support. So, and he had the best curveball of his generation. So, the only downside on Blyleven's ledger is the number of home runs he gave.
Yeah, but so did Catfish Hunter, and so did Ferguson Jenkins.
And plus he pitched in that Homer Dome. That's where he gave him up that 50, I think, in one season.
He pitched great for that Pirate team.
3-0 is in for a strike to Coghlan.
We Are a Family. In '79, he was a member of that team.
Right.
He had great spin on the ball, Ronnie. One of those guys that just took that ball, when it came out of his hand, it just had extraordinary spin.
Coghlan is on with the walks. At 10 batters faced for Redding, he's walked 4 of them. Still hasn't given up a hit. But for the 3rd straight inning, the Marlins have a base runner. 1 out and 1 on for Nick Johnson, who walked his first time up. By the way, you know, we have a full booth tonight with the 3 of us, but it's going to be a little fuller in the bottom of this inning. We're going to have a young man named Kyle Singh who will be joining us. He won SNY's Junior Sportscaster contest, and the very talented 10-year-old Mr. Singh is going to be joining us in the bottom of this inning.
Look forward to it.
We've already met him. He's such a nice young man, so it's going to be great. We're not speaking in the 6th. We have someone doing the 3rd. This is beautiful.
We're slowly being phased out.
Might not be as slow as you think.
There's every chance of that.
What was the name of that contest, Gary?
It was the New York 529 SNY Kidscaster contest. New York 529 referring to the college savings plan. Johnson fouls 1 and 2. And to get here, Kyle had to write an essay about his favorite Mets player. And then he auditioned at the SNY studio with 9 other finalists. And I'm told that he was the standout in a very strong field.
Huh. He's from Queens.
Of course.
And a Met fan.
2 and 2 to Johnson. Don't you know all great young broadcasters come from Queens?
There you go.
I did not know that.
Howie Rose, Kyle Singh.
Yourself included. I just don't, not as young as it used to be.
Wasn't going to go there.
I'm really surprised that they haven't started the runners and trying to run on the young Tolley.
Tolley's thrown out the only runner to try and go against him. That was on what appeared to be a blown hit and run play against the Cubs over the weekend. Threw out Fukudome.
Well, the Cubs are just about done. I think the Mets just stuck the last fork in them.
Well, the Cubs scored 7 in the first inning against Zach Duke today in Pittsburgh.
Zach Duke, who was having an outstanding season, but has come back to the pack the last 2 starts.
Well, you can only imagine how they feel in Pittsburgh now, having set the record. 17 straight losing seasons. I mean, you know, it's fine to say we're going to restock our farm system and be like the Twins, start from scratch, but for the veteran guys who are still there, they have to feel as though they'll never be a part of that. 2-2. Coghlan runs. Strike 3 called. Tolley's throw is high, and Coghlan has a stolen base. So Johnson called out on strikes, and Coghlan has his 7th steal.
Backdoor slider. I think Nick thought it was up. I got the call there. It was a close call. Could have gone either way.
Third strikeout for Redding. 2 out to runner at second. Hanley Ramirez the batter. Ramirez took a call, 3rd strike his first time.
You have to be careful here, though. You do have a base to work with. You got the future batting champion. You've got to use your smarts, your baseball smarts out there, and make sure almost that he gets himself out on a bad pitch.
Ramirez still playing with a sore hamstring that led to some clubhouse conflict this last week. He and Dan Uggla getting into it.
Kind of cleared the air, and Ramirez has been playing beautifully since the, I guess, the shouting match or the brief for the altercation.
Into the air to deep left field. Back goes Pagan looking up, and it's out of here. So they pitch to Ramirez with first base open, and Ramirez drills his 22nd home run of the year. A 2-run shot. The first hit for the Marlins gives them a 2-0 lead. And for Hanley Ramirez against Tim Redding, that is 4 home runs in 21 career at-bats.
That's his 93rd and 4th runs batted in on his way to a 100 RBI season, and a hanger run.
Yeah, just a hanging slider right in the middle of the plate. I think what you end up doing a lot of times as a pitcher, when you get behind a great hitter, you figure that you're going to have a gimme slider if you throw one over. To me, it looks like Ramirez was just sitting on a slider. That's what he got in his first AB.
He's awfully strong.
So 2-0 Florida. Jorge Cantu grounds one that right boots, and Cantu is aboard. Ball came up on David. He was unable to stay with it. And so after the home run by Ramirez, the inning continues.
The ball did take an up hop. You always got to do a little gardening around there in front of you. But this ball came up.
They're going to score that a base hit.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, I was a little surprised myself.
I tell you what, let me get back in uniform and play with the scorekeepers. Be 5-6 points on my average.
That's Bill Shannon. He usually gets them.
Bill, come on, Bill.
You'd only hit about 275, Keith, but you are over 50.
The old Ty Cobb line. Here's John Baker, who walked his first time up.
Goodness gracious. I don't care if it's a bad hop.
And you know what? There are so few bad hops anymore.
It's kind of the rub of the green. I mean, you're going to get a half a dozen of those.
Hi, Bill.
It's Bill Shannon, the dean of
Bill, we love you. You know that.
Top scoring crew in New York.
Don't get mad at me. Still got the best fingernails in town. I love your nails.
I don't know what to be more surprised at.
Bill has the best manicured nails I've ever seen. They're beautiful.
Now, that's not what I was surprised at. I was surprised that you were paying attention.
You were on your way to your own reality show on Bravo in a second. I'm telling you. 2-1 to Baker. There's a strike at the knees. 2-2. I can see it right now. Keith goes from nail parlor to nail parlor to rate the service at each one.
Oh, please stop it.
Get the mani pedi. Little chair massage. 3-2 to Baker.
Oh, boy. How many days was I off? 3?
Still in negative ball strike territory for Redding, who's walked 4 and struck out 3. Cantu gets set to run with 3-2 and 2 down. And the breaking ball bounced foul.
Hey, Keith, let me ask you a question. When you're watching, I'm watching Murphy at first base now, and he's holding Cantu so he doesn't get a huge jump in case Baker were to get a base hit. But you want to, as soon as you kind of fake him in there, you want to get back as far as you can, don't you?
Yes, as soon as Redding breaks from the belt, you push back. He's doing it now nicely. Cover ground. Oh, boy, what a rip right there.
Pitch just up enough for Redding.
Particularly with a left-hand hitter running, because you want to take that hole away. And the runner, the base runner, is not going to get picked off. You have plays, as you well know, that he would sneak behind and do. It doesn't happen. It happens very rarely. But the object here, the base runner, is not to steal the base. He's going to make sure that Redding throws home.
And Baker goes down on the curveball. Redding has his 4th strikeout. But the Marlins take the lead with one big swing of Hanley Ramirez's bat. His 22nd home run of the year, a 2-run shot. And so Florida jumps out to a 2-0 lead heading to the bottom of the 3rd. For us, because we were joined for the bottom of the 3rd inning by 10-year-old Kyle Singh, who won the New York 529 SNY Kids Caster Contest. And Kyle, congratulations. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks. And here's the pitch to Anderson Hernandez. And the pitcher for the Marlins is going to try to get a sandwich. To get a sandwich, you need to strike out the hitter. And that's strike 1. He just threw the buns of the sandwich. So he's 1/3 of the way there of making the sandwich, which is a strikeout. Here's the pitch, and that's outside, 2-1.
Did you just come up with that yourself? Is that your signature call?
Wow.
The strikeout?
Yeah.
Buns on a sandwich? Interesting.
And here's the pitch. Ooh, outside. So
You'd be good in radio.
here's the pitch, and that's inside, so it's a full count, 3-2.
Because Kyle was the winner of our Kids Caster contest, he gets to call a little play-by-play.
And a pop-up, he makes the catch, and Anderson Hernandez doesn't notice, and he has to walk back. So Nick Johnson makes the catch.
So, Kyle, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you go to school?
I go to school at PS 117, and I'd like to mention my wonderful teacher, Miss Morrison. And, yeah.
What grade are you starting now?
I'm going to start in 5th grade.
And when did you decide that you wanted to be a sportscaster?
I listen to you guys every day, and you guys are so good, and I wanted to be just like you guys.
In every way?
Yeah,
okay.
Every way. And 0-1, 1-0 to Redding, and that's a strike. So he got the lettuce of the sandwich. It's 1-1.
And that's the second out as Conklin makes the grab. Now, I understand to get here you had to write an essay about your favorite Mets player.
Yeah.
And who did you write about?
I wrote about Carlos Delgado, even though my favorite player is Jose Reyes, because everybody writes about David Wright and Jose Reyes, so I wanted to go a little out of the box.
And what did you say about Carlos?
I said whenever Carlos hits the ball, it's like he fries eggs, and whenever Carlos hits the ball, he's very clutch.
Now, frying eggs?
Yeah, frying eggs. The same sound.
Oh.
It sizzles.
Yeah, it sizzles.
Gotcha.
That's interesting.
And here's Angel Pagan. So 0-1 to Angel Pagan.
How do you like Angel? You think he's a good player?
Oh, yeah, he's a very good player. Here's the pitch. And that misses. Whoa. 1-1.
Now, I understand that during this contest, I caught a sneak peek of the video. You said that Keith was your favorite broadcaster.
Yes, he is. And that's foul. Yes, he is my favorite.
Now, why is that? What about Keith?
He's very funny.
See? Everybody laughs at him.
No, they're laughing with you. You're laughing with him, right? You're not laughing at him, right?
No, I'm not laughing at him.
I'm kind of laughing at him.
I mean, he was the MVP in 1979.
Thank you.
I can't laugh at him.
That's right. Don't forget it.
Co-MVP.
Oh, airplanes for a change.
So 2-2. The pitcher's going to try and get a sandwich right now. Gets his bat ready. He's digging into the box. Here's the pitch. Foul.
Do you practice a lot?
Yeah, I practice a lot. Every day. I practice as much as I can.
So you follow the monitor.
Yeah. There's the pitch, and that's outside.
So that means you follow Bill Webb, our director.
He always tells Keith to watch what's on the monitor so he knows what the people are seeing at home.
So you see there's Jerry Manuel right there. The people at home see that picture.
Oh, I'm sorry for the people at home. And that's a ground ball to Johnson, who can't field it, and Angel Pagan's at first. So an infield base hit. The Mets actually get a base hit, finally. First hit of the ball game. And Johnson just couldn't handle it cleanly.
Very nice.
Keith would have made that play.
Oh, boy, stick around. You're staying. Don't go away. You're going to stay the whole 9 innings.
And here steps Luis Castillo, 0 for 1 with the ground out. He's hitting a .310 with 1 home run. The pitch. And that's a strike.
Now, Kyle, you're 10 years old, right?
Yeah.
Now, what's your favorite Mets moment that you've seen since you've been watching?
Andy Chavez, when he made the catch. I loved your call. That was awesome.
Thank you. It's very nice. If Keith would have done it just as well.
No. What did you say? He saved the ball game. And he saved the ball game.
He made the catch. He made the catch.
But they didn't win the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very sad.
You don't like Gary's double home run call? It's out of here. It's out of here.
And here's the pitch. And that's a strike. Woo. 0-2. Nice pitching by Vandenberg. Gonna get it on the outside corner. Hitting the black.
You've done this before.
Here's the pitch, and Castillo fouls it off. Big rip. And David Wright's on deck, 0 for 1 with the strikeout. Castillo digs in the box. Here's the pitch.
Has to be a changeup.
And that's a pickoff. I don't understand why pitchers do pickoffs unless it's Ricky Henderson at first. They're not going to get him out.
Would you like to explain, Ronnie?
Vandenberg's not going to get anybody out, but there are some pitchers out there, especially the left-handers. Yeah, Andy Pettit, exactly. Best move in the game.
Ooh, and that's a ball. Wow. Big break. That's a birthday present.
I agree.
So 1-2. Let's see if the pitcher can get a sandwich and strike out Castillo.
Got to be hungry. Have to Earl a sandwich?
There's the pitch, and that's a ball in the dirt. Nice stop by Baker.
There's the defense right there, Carl.
Yep.
Playing them to the opposite field a little bit.
They're not playing in for Castillo. He can get a bloop. Here's the pitch. Oh, that's time called by Castillo.
Well, we're here with Kyle Singh, who is our Kids Caster, won the New York 529 SNY Kids Caster contest, and he's carrying us through this bottom of the third.
Well, that's outside, so 3-2 a full count to Castillo. I'd also like to mention my brother, Calvin. He said to mention him on TV.
Older or younger?
He's younger.
You sound like you're broadcasting in the Midwest where they say hi to Mabel in Des Moines.
So 3-2. The pitch. And that's a line drive base hit. Pagan goes to third. And that's a single for Luis Castillo. And he just slapped the ball.
Well, that's where Louis likes it, down over the plate, and he pulled it here. A little changeup, RJ.
Yeah, a little changeup that he left. It wasn't a bad pitch, but good job by Castillo. You're not going to see him hit the ball too much harder than he did there to right field.
So runners at the corners with 2 out for David Wright, who took a call third strike his first time up. Tying runs on base in the bottom of the third. So Kyle, you a football fan too?
Yeah, big football fan.
What's your favorite team for?
My first favorite team is the Giants, of course, because I'm in New York.
I don't know about of course, but I'll let you go on that one.
I know you guys like the Jets. They play here. But my second favorite team, I like rooting for the Cardinals.
The Arizona Cardinals. You like the quarterback?
Yeah.
I forget his name.
Kurt Warner.
Thanks. I knew you'd know.
Carlos Beltran on deck.
You go to the head of the class.
And David takes it down 2-1. You play baseball?
Yeah, I do.
Position?
I play catcher, third base, and second base.
Can you hit?
Huh?
Can you hit?
Yeah, I get walks a lot, and I steal.
So you're like a good leadoff man.
I don't hit leadoff, though.
Crack to center field, right at Maben, and that ends the inning. And we very much appreciate having had Kyle Singh with us. Congratulations on your first inning of Major League play-by-play.
Thank you.
Great job.
Great job, Kyle.
We look forward to having you up here again when you take my job in about 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't be a homer, though. Wear a Mets uniform.
Thanks, Kyle. Fourth inning, Dan Uggla leads off for the Marlins, who have a 2-0 lead, courtesy of a Hanley Ramirez 2-run homer. Uggla walked his first time up. One of 4 walks issued in the first 3 innings by Tim Redding. It'll be Uggla, then Cody Ross and Cameron Maybin in the top of the 4th. And it's 2-1 to Uggla. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
You know, Danny Uggla bats here, guys, and sometimes I think as a hitter, you are who you are. You know, he has had a decent second half drawing walks. He's got an on-base percentage of .389 in the second half of the season. But I was talking to him about balancing his walks with his strikeouts, and he said, look, I've all year been battling myself, trying to be more selective, but at the same token, I can't get out of what I did. There was a series in July. We were in Arizona, a late game situation, close game, and I took 2 fastballs right down the middle, and I said, what am I doing? So I'm trying all year to find that balance between still being aggressive and not swinging at horrendous pitches as Anderson Hernandez throws them out. 1 away. Guys, back to you.
Oh, that makes perfect sense, Kev, because you're trying to discipline a hitter who strikes out a lot, swings a lot of bad pitches, but it's a fine line between taking too much of that aggression away and you kind of lose the aggressiveness, for lack of a better word. It's like pitcher Ronnie taking a little off his fastball.
As Ross pulls one right over the bag and down into the deep left field corner. Ross easily to second base as Pagan plays it back. And Cody Ross has his 35th double of the year. He's in the top 10 of the league in 2 base hits.
Well, fastball in and Cody looking in. Very dangerous hitter. It's a good location, but down, maybe a little bit too down. Well, Pagan getting reintroduced to left field. Plays that ball nicely.
So a runner in scoring position for Cameron Maybin, who bounced out to third base his first time up.
For the IOTV pitch differential, sometimes you hit your spot. Hitters are trying too.
Yep.
And Ross, we talked about, Keith and I both believe he is a guest hitter, so occasionally he's going to look inside.
What was interesting, this first at bat for Ross, he took 2 fastballs looking for the breaking ball. This time he said he was sitting fastball.
Maben, after grounding out his first time up with runners in scoring position this year, is 1 for 27.
Oh boy, hanging slider
there.
Yep, stayed in just enough, tied him up.
You see when the ball comes out how it spins, and he hasn't had his real sharp slider yet. That ball is just sitting right in the middle of the plate wanting to be hit.
Nats on top of the Phillies have lost 4 straight. Florida trying to chase down the Phils, 6 games behind, and now Redding behind the number 8 hitter 3-1 with Vandenherk the pitcher on deck.
You know, the key when you're throwing that slider is, one, is that you want to release it late, not early, and secondly, you want to make sure that you do not try to make it break early. What I mean by that is you don't want it to break as soon as it comes out of your hand.
Maben deep to center field. Back goes Beltran, looking up near the wall, and it's into the apple, a 2-run homer. Cameron Maben, who had been 1 for 27 with runners in scoring position, puts a dent in the apple with his 2nd home run of the year, and it's 4-0 Florida.
Jeez, Jerry West from 30. That's impressive. That's a long way. Another hanger, RJ.
Redding has just not been able to. That right there looks like he tried to take a little off and maybe even go with a curveball there as opposed to the slider, but still, breaking ball set right in the middle of the plate. Shows you the 5 tools of this young man, Maben. Run, hit for power.
Yeah, he's very strong to go dead central. That's 408 right there. He hit that ball about 420, 425. That's impressive.
Well, the last time Redding faced the Marlins, he gave up 3 solo home runs, but he had a huge lead in that game. Here he's given up 2 home runs, but they've each come with a man on base. And for Tim Redding, that's now 17 home runs in 93 1/3 innings, and that's obviously way too many.
Well, the pitch differential is not going to look as bad for 2 reasons. One is that you see that it almost hits the spot where Tolley sits, but Josh Tolley has a high target. He's a catcher that does not usually give a low target.
And what allows the hitter to catch up, where the slider before, Ronnie, is thrown at a higher velocity that stayed inside and beat him inside. The off-speed breaking ball allows the bat to catch up.
So Maben, who had such a rough time of it when he started out the season with the Marlins, back now for about a week, and he has his 2nd home run of the season. Here's Chris Coughlin, who walked, stole a base, and scored a run in the 3rd, 0 for 1.
Well, he was National League Rookie of the Month for August as he led the majors with 47 hits for that month. My goodness. And that's the first time that many hits since Wally Moon hit 52 in 1954. That was Wally Moon's rookie year, Kara? Yes, he was a rookie, of course.
That's why it was the most by a rookie.
Yeah, duh. Wally Moon was Rookie of the Year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
There's a strike to Coughlin. Well, yeah, Coughlin is a kid who was an infielder in the minor leagues. They moved him to the outfield when he got to the big leagues. But there's no guarantee that Dan Uggla is going to be back with Florida next year. And Coughlin might wind up playing second base. Uggla is arbitration eligible. He made about $4 million this year. He's going to be due for a big raise. And in the Marlins world, that makes it very difficult to justify bringing him back. So he might have to maneuver there. Coughlin moves his feet, 3-2.
Well, in today's game, Uggla wouldn't warrant a significant raise. Probably put him somewhere up in the $6-7 million range. You know, for a guy that hit 240 and 25 home runs, he's probably going to drive in 90 runs.
Coughlin drives one out to left, and Pagan is there. That does it for the Marlins in the top of the 4th, but not before Cameron Maben slows a 2-run homer. It's a 50 and skee ball into the apple. 4-0 Florida. Carlos Beltran up for the second time. Struck out his first time up after missing 70 games with a bruise to his knee. And he hits the curveball foul, and it's 0-2. Well, I guess Van den Hurk didn't completely ditch his curveball.
No. Well, I mean, he was just getting in so much trouble just throwing that curveball, and no one would swing at it because he couldn't throw it for strikes.
Popped up into left, and Coughlin drifting over. So Beltran retired. One down in the fourth. Here's your Mets upcoming schedule. Remember, all Mets games on SNY are available in HD, presented by IOTV. And if you're in the car, listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. 2 more games to go in this series, and then 4 in 3 days in Philadelphia, including a day-night doubleheader on Sunday. Then the Mets go to Atlanta before returning home to play Washington weekend after next. There's Daniel Murphy, who takes a strike. Murphy popped to short his first time up. Into shallow left, and that'll fall for a base hit. So the Mets have their third hit off Van den Hurk, a 1-out single. Weekdays at 5:30, catch Brian Custer and Brandon Tierney as they go head-to-head on the latest from Gang Green and Big Blue as they gear up for opening week. In the Wheelhouse, weekdays at 5:30, only on SNY. So now Jeff Francoeur with 1 out and 1 on. Francoeur drew a walk his first time up. Well, the Mets have had 3 prior outings against Rick Van den Hurk. In those 3 games, Van den Hurk is 0-1 with an 11.25 ERA.
I don't know about you, but he looks like a different pitcher to me. I always thought that, when I first would watch him, he was a little reluctant or reticent to throw strikes, but he seems to be going after the hitters much better than he did in the past couple of seasons.
Line, center field, base hit for Francoeur. Murphy will go first to third. And the Mets have something working here in the fourth. First and third and 1 out.
Well, you'll see the grip here of this fastball. You know it's a fastball because you see a lot of the white on the baseball. With 2 fingers and trying to rim that ball, sink it in, but he left it right over the middle of the plate. The aggressive Francoeur, of course.
That 2-seamer, Ronnie?
Yeah, he was trying to run that in on his hands, which is a good pitch to Francoeur, but just missed his spot.
Nice. So Josh Thole with an opportunity for his first major league run batted in. Thole flied to left his first time up.
And you see the choking up right there. It's a good 2 inches of choking up. Nothing wrong with that. Barry Bonds did it.
Did you choke up when you had 2 strikes?
I always choked up.
Yeah.
I choked up around a ½ inch on the bat, and I use a 34.5 ounce bat. Inch bat.
Inch bat. So you made it 34.
It's not a long bat. Interesting to see how Van den Hurk now all of a sudden a little bit of trouble not finding the plate.
He gave up a couple of 2-out hits in the 3rd inning, and then David Wright hit a seed to center field for the 3rd out. Now he's given up back-to-back hits in the 4th.
Van den Hurk so far has spent a lot of time on the runners at first base. Does not have a great move, and these are the kind of things that you'll see from young pitchers, is that when everything is going smoothly, they look very confident out there. You get some people on base, that confidence seems to vanish.
Oh boy, there's a pitch right down Broadway. Totally wishes he had that one back.
And you can see he's just got that 2-seamer that he's throwing to the outside part of the plate. And just like Francoeur pitch, it catches right down the middle. As you see Baker, the catcher, has to reach almost across his body to the middle of that plate.
I almost think a guy like Van den Hurk that just kind of hope to get him twice through the order and be very careful 3rd time through the order.
hit to left center field. That'll get a run in. Maben glides over to grab it. Murphy tags at third and comes in with the first Mets run of the day. Josh Tolley has his first Major League RBI. And now it's 4-1 Florida.
Well, one thing we've seen from young Josh so far is that he's a contact hitter. And he doesn't strike out.
And you can see the changeup here, because you won't see as much as the ball. All four fingers on the ball, including the thumb underneath. And that ball just sails up in the strike zone as Mr. Vandenhurst, the reason he's given up a run so far is he has missed his target.
So 2 out, Francoeur at first, and now Anderson Hernandez steps in. Hernandez popped up to Nick Johnson his first time up.
It's interesting, Gary and Keith, that in this day and age when the manager or pitching coach or running coach controls the running game, and what I mean by that, they tell the pitcher when to throw over, when to step off, when to hold the baseball. So you have a whole generation of young pitchers that don't have any feel for the running game. They have to be told when to throw over.
So you're saying there's no going back?
Well, no, I think your veteran pitchers, you might allow them more latitude, but having a sense for when a guy is running is a beautiful thing, and it could be a great gift for a pitcher.
But if they have never been given that leeway, how do they develop it?
They don't develop it, and it's too late to develop it now. As you see the manager going out with the trainer, Freddie Gonzalez, something might be wrong with Mr. Vandenhurst.
Well, Vandenhurst, remember, began his year on the disabled list because of elbow issues. Did not begin his season until June. Made 10 starts in the minor leagues. This is now his 8th big league start.
Looks like it might be his hip or side. He might have strained a muscle. I thought I saw him point to his right hip.
Well, it looks like he's already going to stay in the game at least.
There he is. Grab the side. Well, that's the injury of this decade, isn't it? The oblique injury.
All those core exercises that I used to forego.
Marlins are without Jeremy Hermida right now. Hermida's got an oblique problem that's keeping him out of this series. Well, you know what you were doing, right?
Yeah. You're not going to get tackled. You're not going to have 280-pound linemen fall on your stomach. To get hit in the stomach,
Well, the trainer and the manager have already gone back to the dugout, and now Vandenhurst's taking a warm-up pitch. Don't they normally stay out?
Yes.
This is odd. You've got the home plate umpire Scott Berry supervising. Well, Mark Wiley gets on the phone to call down to the bullpen.
Mark got a tip on a snowstorm or what with that turtleneck?
Well, they're used to being in Florida. I heard Ronnie once pitched with a turtleneck.
I did, not many times, but so they had to. It's freezing.
It was freezing, wasn't it?
Oh, and Hernandez down on strikes, so Vandenhurst bounces back from whatever was ailing him to strike out Hernandez. His 3rd strikeout. Mets get a run and trail 4-1.
It's 4-1. Well, this is the second series that the Mets have actually changed their outfield defensive alignment, and basically the outfielders all pushed to the right to cover the gaps. The goal, they do not want the ball getting to the wall in those gaps, which they feel is an automatic triple. Now, we saw the one drawback against the Cubs. Ball sit down the left field line. You do have an opportunity for the runner from first base to score if you don't play the ball absolutely perfectly. Razor Shines told me today, he told Carlos Beltran when he came in today about the alignment, and Beltran was actually fine with it. And what they do, to give you an idea, guys, I asked Razor, just let's say for hypotheticals, normally your center fielder lines up in front of the 408 sign, just for argument's sake. He said it's so drastic now that if a center fielder would line up in the 408 sign, they would now move all the way to the right of the Nikon sign in center field. And there you see the 408 and you see Nikon. So that's a pretty big jump all the way to the right side. Just to change it up. They're trying to take away the triples. They're learning how to play this park, so it'll be interesting to watch going forward, guys, if that does indeed take away more triples. Jerry Manuel and Razor Shines feel will. One other thing, the idea, Jerry Manuel said he got the idea by watching Nigel Morgan play when he played left with the Pirates. He said he couldn't believe the ground he covered, and then when he watched it, he aligned more towards center field. Guys?
And I guess the question ends up being, do you gain more cutting off the gap for triples than you lose giving up the line for doubles?
Well, any defense in the outfield is going to look a lot better when you have number 15 out there, Beltran. He'll make a lot of defensive maneuvering look a lot better. The interesting part is that a visiting player, Morgan, was the first one to employ it.
I always believe in gapping hitters unless they're dead pull hitters.
And there aren't many dead pull hitters anymore, Keith.
Like Dave Kingnan's
and Johnson drives into the gap in right center, and that'll go all the way to the wall. Nick doesn't run very well, and he is going to just cruise to second base. So no threat of a triple there. With a faster runner, it might have been. But they gave Johnson the right center field gap, and he found it for a two-base hit.
Well, the one thing you've got to do is that you can do all the defense you want, but if your pitcher doesn't hit the spot and pitch him away, if you're playing him away, then you allow the fielder to hit against the defense.
And you see Beltran playing the other way with Johnson, and that ball just hit too good anyway. That's two-hopper off the wall.
21st double of the year for Johnson, who's just coming back from a hamstring injury. So he's in scoring position for Hanley Ramirez, who drilled a two-run homer his last time up. 22nd of the year for Hanley, broke the scoreless tie in the third.
Hanging slider, and boy, he let go with that one hand, and he is so strong. I mean, he knew he got that one. And Redding knew he made a mistake.
22 homers, 94 RBIs for the league's leading hitter, now up to 360 on the year.
Well, a little frustration there you see from Tim Redding, and he and Josh Tolley right now having a little trouble getting on the same page.
Burke Badenhop is up in the bullpen for the Marlins. We saw Rick Vandenherk, after the inning was over, go down toward the Marlins clubhouse, so he might be done after he apparently tweaked his side in that last inning. Ramirez lines one right at Beltran, who plays it perfectly for the first down. So Ramirez hits a seed, but right at Beltran, one away. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Xerox, document services provider to the Mets. Xerox, ready for real business. So one away, and here's Jorge Cantu, who's 1 for 2, hit a ground ball that ate up David Wright and went for a base hit in the third. And Redding leaves it away for ball 1. Redding up to 93 pitches, now more strikes than balls. For most of the night, it's been the other way around. Well, here we are chatting away through the 5th inning, but when it comes to the 6th,
yes,
we'll be quiet, and we'll just bring you the ambient sounds of the ballpark throughout the 6th inning.
I always love the ambient sounds of the ballpark.
Well, you know, we have the best sound guys in the business working for SNY, and they've got their microphone stationed all around Citi Field as Lance Broadway gets up in the Mets bullpen, ready for his Broadway debut.
Archer, you're coming on the road with us.
Yes.
Hit sharply, but right at Castillo. So Redding giving up some shots in this inning. Cantu thrown out as Johnson moves to third, 2 out.
It's always the beautiful time of the year in September, whether you're in it or not. For some reason, there's no longer in September the 13, 14-day road trip. You know, it's usually 3 in, a week out, a week home, a week out, a week home, and the month just goes right by.
Plus, you stay on your own coast for the most part.
Right.
And also, the weather's getting cooler, so
yes.
it's a little less oppressive for the players who are playing every day. That's why they call it the dog days of August, not September. Here's Baker, who's 0 for 1. He's walked and struck out.
Well, I remember the days back in the 70s when Marvin took over. He was already there.
Marvin
Miller, excuse me. There used to be 17-day road trips. That's a lot of packing. And that was now Marvin made it where you couldn't play more than 17 games in a row, Ronnie, something like that. Yeah. I forget. There had to be an off day.
Unless, of course, you get in a specialized situation like they had in Houston a few years ago.
Exactly. But I
28-game road trip.
I remember the 4-city 17-day road trip, and that's a long time on the road. It's almost 3 weeks.
Well, you never played in the Pacific Coast League when Hawaii was in the league.
No, I didn't.
Because when Hawaii was in the PCL, they go on 3-week road trips. That's tough to pack for.
Yeah.
Corey Sullivan hoping for a pinch hitting assignment,
particularly in minor league salary.
2-1 to Baker. Oh, and a nice stop by Tolley. That saved a run.
Again, is that fastball that's the most difficult for catchers. See how soon the pitcher's going to throw a strike, so not able to get to his knees. He really played like an infielder like he used to be at first base with the backhand.
100 pitches now for Redding. It's still not through the 5th inning. Different kind of an outing for Redding tonight. And Baker hits one down the left field line, and that'll slice into the crowd. 3-2. Here's your Aflac trivia question for tonight. Who was the last pitcher to throw at least 300 innings in a season? That's a great question, because it's something that used to happen, if not routinely, at least more often than not in the days of 4-man rotations.
Nolan.
I know Nolan did it, but was he the last?
J.R.
Richard. Castillo gets in front of it, and Redding able to survive the leadoff double halfway through at Citi Field. 4-1 Florida. SNY broadcast team. You and a guest could have dinner with us. Then catch the Mets-Braves game in an SNY suite at Citi Field on September 22nd. This auction benefits the high school basketball teams scheduled to play in the 2010 SNY Invitational. Bid today at sny.tv/charity auction. Well, Rick Vandenherk having to leave apparently because of injury, unable to stick around long enough to get a win. Bert Badenhop will relieve him.
Well, he just came back off the disabled list on September 1st. He had a strained right trapezius muscle for Badenhop. You see by those numbers, he has been one of their better relievers during the course of the season.
Corey Sullivan will bat for Tim Redding, who's done after 5 innings and 102 pitches. Elmer descends up in the bullpen, will come on to pitch in the 6th. Sullivan has been playing very well lately. Has a 6-game hitting streak going, 7 for 16 with a couple of home runs. And Badenhop misses away ball 1. It'll be Sullivan, then Angel Pagan, and Luis Castillo for the Mets here at the bottom of the 5th. If you guys have anything you need to say, I suggest you get it in this half inning, because they're turning our microphones off in the next inning.
They've wanted to do that now for 4 years.
My wife's been trying to do that for years.
What are you going to do for that inning? You going to stay up here?
Yeah, I
want to watch the shots and hear the noise.
I'm thinking maybe we could bother Al, our high home cameraman who sits right below us.
Tommy Telestrator.
I might just sneak out to the Willisella Club.
Really?
I know, I'm not only teasing.
Have a holiday sparkler.
I predict there's ice cream in your future.
They ran out of the Haagen-Dazs back there. I'm hot.
No, they didn't
You're
save you
hot.
one? We still have Tootsie Pops, you know. 2-2 to Sullivan, fisted to the left side, and Cantu grabs it one away. Well, we're running out of time to talk, and Chris Carlin's going to cut into our time further. He's standing by with the New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Chris? Well executed. Thank you, Chris. Here's Angel Pagan, who's 1 for 2, had an infield hit his last time up.
All of a sudden, the Phillies can't hit, huh?
Cantu playing in, but Pagan looking to lay one down anyway.
Okay, I was talking to Howie today, and he was informing me about the hockey schedule with the Islanders and all that stuff. And you start. When does your college season start with Seton Hall?
Not until the middle of November.
Oh,
I get 6 weeks.
Wow, very, very nice. Because I got
Howie goes right from one to the other.
I know. I got a buddy of mine who is a big college basketball fan. If I want to go, can you leave me tickets?
Anytime you want.
Really?
Yes.
There's Howie.
Just let me know. It's going to be a good year for the Hall.
I got a buddy out there who's a big college basketball fan, and he owns a restaurant and wants us to come over for supper. So if you leave me some tickets, we'll go to his restaurant, Sunset Pub and Grill in Lincoln Park, New Jersey. His name is Franco Bartoli. Great guy.
Sounds like a night.
Yes.
Pagan drives one to deep right center field. Back in the gap, Ross and Mabin near the wall. Mabin can't get it. Pagan racing for third. Ross having trouble picking it up. Pagan will be held at third base by Razor Shines. As Ugla fires home and the crowd boos, they thought Pagan had a chance to circle the bases, but down by 3 runs, Razor wasn't taking that chance.
Well, I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah.
You can't run yourself out of the inning here. This ball had a lot of hang time and no one getting to it. Well, he might have been safe, but with 3 runs down, you can't take this chance. And this is everything you can get into it for Pagan. The deepest part of the ballpark. 2 more hits for Angel.
And it's his 9th triple of the year. He's had only 252 at bats, and he's only 2 behind the league leaders in triples. So a runner at third and 1 out. The infield back for Castillo, who takes a strike. Louis had a hit and run single in the 3rd after trying to bunt his way on and being thrown out in the 1st. Hit toward the middle. Ugla on the backhand can only knock it down. Pagan scores. Castillo safe at first, and the Florida lead is trimmed to 4-2.
Well, ball was hit hard. Ugla, not the greatest of hands. He's not known for his glove. And that's going to more than likely be a base hit. But got to make that play.
And they do score to hit. Second of the game for Castillo. So Pagan and Castillo each with a couple of hits. And now the Mets get the tying run to the plate here in the bottom of the fifth. David Wright 0 for 2, but his last time up he hit a bullet to center field right at Maben. And David takes low for ball one from Bert Badenhop. So Vandenhurst forced to leave after 4 innings, 1 run, 4 hits. And the Mets stepping on Badenhop and looking for more. Carlos Delgado in the dugout alongside Angel Pagan. Double play ball to Ramirez. Ugla with the turn. Side retired. Mets managed just the 1 run. We'll see you guys in the 7th. Ball game will continue without us. The silent 6th is upcoming. 4-2 Florida.
Can they come back in the 8th?
center fielder, Cameron Maben. Your attention, please. Pinch hitting for the Marlins, number 14, Gabby Sanchez. The center fielder, Carlos Beltran. First baseman, Daniel Murphy. The right fielder, Jeff Francoeur. catcher, Josh Tole.
I'm Chris Carlin. Tonight in D.C., the Phillies
play at the plate that you almost never see, with the Mets preventing the Marlins from scoring a run. And we got to see and hear the ambient sound just like you did. It was, I thought it was tremendous.
It was so much fun. Keith and I were watching it there, and we're saying it's so great because we're seeing things that, you know, we don't always get to see because we're trying to prepare what we're going to say instead of really just concentrating on the pictures. That probably makes the whole truck really proud that we were watching instead of always talking.
Well, we know why our director is a multiple award winner. Luckily for the three of us up here in the booth, folks, we have a very good self-esteem. We don't feel threatened by this.
Fortunately, Bill Webb and his fine cameramen and our great sound people were able to display their artistry without us getting in the way. Ken Takahashi on to pitch the 7th with the Marlins up 4-2. Top of the batting order, Chris Carlin, first pitch swinging, and Coughlin lifts it out to left center. Pagan makes the play, 1 pitch and 1 out. Well, now that we're back, we're going to give you the Toyota text ball. I can only imagine what it's going to ask.
Oh, God.
Did you enjoy the silent 6th inning? See, I would have put it differently. I would have been, would you prefer another silent inning? But anyway, did you enjoy it? A for yes, B for no. Text 57508 or visit sny.tv to vote.
And for all you independents, we can add C and say indifferent.
Or indifferent, they're not going to vote. Nick Johnson takes inside for ball 1. Johnson 1 for 2. He doubled to right center leading off in the 5th inning, but the Marlins couldn't get him around. Sean Green up in the Mets bullpen as Takahashi works the 7th. Tim Redding went the first 5, allowed 4 runs and 5 hits, walked 4, struck out 4, gave up 2 home runs. He's on the hook. Elmer DeScends pitched an inning, no runs, 1 hit, a walk, a strikeout, and an assist on the play at the plate that kept Dan Uggla from scoring the 5th Florida run. 2-1 to Johnson with Hanley Ramirez on deck.
Was there a small part of you, Gary, that was bummed you didn't get to make that call of the Frank Core to DeScends to totally out?
No, actually, it's a very large part of it. I can't recall seeing a play develop quite like that before, with a pitcher playing it barehanded off the bricks.
Yeah.
And then making a play at the plate like that. I was surprised that Bo Porter stopped Uggla at third base in the first place.
Yes.
With 2 out.
Well, there's a certain respect that Frank Core has, but there are things that happen in a game that the outs and where you're at with a 2-run lead dictate what you do as a third base coach. And Bo might disagree with me on that, but
it's very diplomatic of you.
Now that it's not the 6th inning, silent 6th, I can say whatever I want.
Johnson walks for the 2nd time tonight. So the Marlins have a 1-out base runner. That's 6 walks issued by Met pitching. Let's go back and look at that play again.
Well, it's the base hit to right field. Short, it's in between Hosmer. Schneider. A pitcher had a tough time backing up. Nice bare hand. Everything fell the Mets' way. He might have been safe.
And good presence of mind for Tolley to stay at home plate and not go chasing after that ball.
Stay at home plate without the mask on, much easier to see. The key on that for the Mets, though, which was very strange, is Murphy wasn't in position to take the cutoff. He was too far out in the dirt. DeScends didn't properly back up home plate, but it all kind of worked out, so it was nice.
Well, with Hanley Ramirez coming up and a runner aboard, Jerry Manuel is heading out to the mound. He's got Sean Green, and he'll bring Green in to face Ramirez, who has hit a 2-run homer already tonight. We're in the 7th, 4-2 Florida. We'll be back in just a moment. To Citi Field. Visit Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX for your tickets now. Sean Green comes in to pitch to Hanley Ramirez. 64th appearance for Sean. Ramirez 1 for 3, a 2-run homer back in the third, and he fouls the sinker into the ground.
This is only his 4th at bat off Sean Green's got a hit. Does Hanley Ramirez.
So how about the Phillies tonight? They were down 2-1 going to the 7th. They've hit 4 home runs in the last 2 innings.
What is Pedro's line? Did he have a nice line today?
2 runs in 6, wasn't it?
Yep.
Very nice.
Not the pitcher of record, though, correct, Gary?
If he pitched 6, he would be.
Did he leave 2-1, or were they down 2-1?
Well, they scored 3 in the top of the 7th.
Oh, that's right.
So if he finished 6, he would be the pitcher of record. Let me see. Ibanez has 2 home runs in that game. He now has 30.
Oh,
he hit 1 yesterday.
And Utley also has his 30th in that game. And Worth is right on the verge of 30.
Wow.
And of course, Howard's already got more than 30. Hader went 6 2/3.
Wow, I thought Worth hit his 30th. I must be wrong.
You may be right. Let me check. Ramirez fouls one off Tolley and back. Yeah, you're right. 32 for Worth. So.
Wow. What a year he's had.
So they have 4 guys with 30 or more home runs.
Now, is that Schmaltz pitching tonight for St. Louis? I think it is. He's losing 3-0 in the 4th.
Fielder has his 38th in that game for Milwaukee. Back to Green. Hernandez to first. 1-6-3 double play. Side retired. Nicely done by Sean Green. 7th inning stretch time. 4-2 Florida. Of our text poll, and I'm told that we had more votes on this question than we've had for any text poll this year. Did you enjoy the silent 6th? And I expected 98% in favor, but it's more like 50-50.
About that. I enjoyed it myself.
It was only 1 inning. I can't believe that many people would have missed us.
I'm just glad that people wanted to text.
That's why Bill's in the truck.
Brian Sanchez starts his 2nd inning of relief for the Florida Marlins. And Jeremy Reed will come up to pinch hit for Anderson Hernandez. Fernando Tatis out on deck to bat for the pitcher. So the Mets try and get something working here in the 7th, trailing 4-2. Now tomorrow night, after we've had our silent 6th today, we're going to give you something else to consider. The play-by-play list booth. It'll be Keith and Ron flying in tandem.
It's going to be like 2 guys at a bar watching a game, talking about the game without the brewskis.
That's exactly right. They would never entrust us with some brewskis and with a mic in front of us.
As well they should not. Anderson Hernandez taken out to the pinch hitter. Went 0 for 2 today. Well, I'll be watching.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to be in the truck. I figure I'll learn a little bit about production tomorrow.
Nice.
And, you know, I figure our producer, Greg Picker, is going to be working overtime. Brian Stokes up in the bullpen.
Yeah, you better get some sleep tonight.
So, I mean, who's going to read the promos?
Well, I heard Keith in Colorado. He did an outstanding job reading the promos. So he's got a lot of.
We can switch off every inning.
Let's let's put Kevin to work. Kevin can read some of the promos, can he? When we come out of the innings.
Well, he's too far away.
Let's give him a couple of cards. He can do it.
But he's not allowed to do play-by-play for you.
No.
Be cheating.
Well, I've done games with Kevin, of course. And he's outstanding as play-by-play.
Yeah.
It's my understanding we're going to do the open on the field.
We are.
Yes.
And Reed has himself another pinch hit. Well, Jeremy Reed has really found a niche this year, pinch hitting. And the Mets get the leadoff man on in the home 7th.
Well, just a 4-seam fastball grip by Mr. Sanchez. Tries to come inside, but it's down. And down and into a left-hander is death.
That's 14,
nice job by Reed.
14 pinch hits for Reed, who's hitting .311 now as a pinch hitter. And now Fernando Tatis will come up to pinch hit, representing the tying run.
I think that says a lot about Jeremy Reed as a teammate and as a ball player. He has been one of the guys that's been overlooked all season long, but he's kept his head in the game, and every time he goes up there, he's dangerous in the pinch hitting role.
He's had a tough job.
Starts with that split finger grip and then changes it once he gets to the glove.
Oh boy.
Toward the middle, base hit. Reed pulls in at second, and the Mets have the tying runs aboard. Back-to-back pinch hit singles for Reed and Tatis.
Well, Jerry Manuel pushing the right buttons here with the 2 pinch hitters.
And again, Sanchez, who we've seen, really loves his fastball. Tries again. I should take that back. That was a little slider that was supposed to be down and away. And earlier in the season, Tatis, when he hit a hard ground ball, it was right at guys. You guys know at home, hit into many double plays, but now starting to find some holes.
Now the Marlins are looking as though they're going to play for a bunt. Let's see if Jerry's going to bunt with Pagan or not.
You see the corners in. I'd let him swing. He's been red hot, particularly with the corners in.
And you got Castillo on deck. And he shows bunt on the first pitch and takes a strike. He looked like he was in full sacrifice mode there.
Mets can play the spoiler here.
The problem you'd have is if you bunt with the runners ahead, Castillo is very challenged to hit a sacrifice fly to get a runner in. He'd have to get a base hit.
Well, the bunt appearing to be on, but Pagan lays off, and it's 1-1. Well, the other thing about Castillo is even if he gets a hit, it's hard for him to get the tying run in second because they play so shallow.
Well, this is by the book, though, right? A by the book kind of play.
Behind Castillo, you have Wright and then Beltran. And Pagan takes a knee-high strike, so now in all probability the bunt will not be on.
Well, let's see how they move in the corners. Johnson's appropriately moving back. Cantu still staying in. Now Cantu can stay in, and then when the pitcher goes in his stretch and breaks from his belt, he should push back. There's a big hole between short and third. I don't know what Cantu's thinking right now.
Brendan Donnelly just back with the disabled list is the right-hander, and Dan Meyer the left-hander at the Florida bullpen.
Well, Meyer's done a nice job for them, and Donnelly the old Los Angeles Angel.
Former K-Rod setup man. 1-2 to Pagan, and Cantu staying in. And Pagan just got a piece. Hey, how about in the last inning while we were silent?
Yes.
The 0-2 pitch to Frank Core, the splitter in the dirt that he fouled off. How do you do that?
I don't know.
You know, it's a
difficult thing to do.
You don't usually see a guy foul the ball off on a bounce.
No. I tell you though, Tony Gwynn once in a game got 2 hits off me on bounced forkballs. Hit it just like a cricketer.
No.
Yes, 2 in the same game.
Was I there?
You were there.
I missed it.
They had a bat with a flat face.
Yeah.
Pagan loops one to shallow center, and Maben is there. Reed tagging, but he's going nowhere. So Pagan isn't able to advance anybody. That's the first out of the inning. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Toyota, by Geico, and by Citi. Citi never sleeps. Ouch. The Red Sox have hit 6 home runs tonight, including 2 for Dustin Pedroia.
You know, you talk about Gary all the time about Texas, of course, came back against Cleveland.
And Texas, if you go one more couple over, is winning the second game 6-0. So Texas, they're right there. 2 started tonight, 2.5 out. They can go to 2 if they sweep. Looks like Boston's going to win.
So the Rays have tied up the Yankees 2-2 in the 8th, and Jeter has another 0-for so far tonight.
You know, we spent some time talking about the Pittsburgh Pirates. Baltimore Orioles, although they do have some young talent, and Adam Jones is not going to play probably the rest of the year, and Nick Markakis, they have a long way to go themselves playing in that tough AL East.
But you know what? They've got some young pitching that may come very quickly and may get them better in a hurry. The problem is, of course, as you say, the division they play in. Well, here's Castillo, who's 2 for 3 tonight, has driven in a run. And Louis takes a strike.
You know, Gary, getting back to Jeter, ready to overtake Lou Gehrig for the all-time hit lead as you see Brian Stokes getting ready. He's got to be feeling it. Remember when Carter was going for that home run? What was that? 300, and it took him around a week?
Took him 3 months.
No, that's right. Was it 3 months?
Finally hit it at Wrigley Field in August, I think, right?
Yes, and don't think Jeter doesn't know the import of those hits that he needs to surpass Gehrig. And boy, couldn't happen to a finer guy. What an accomplishment.
Castillo flares one down the left field line, but foul.
Well, Keith, I think that the reason it becomes a problem is that Jeter has spent his entire career and mantra of being a guy that plays the game right and plays the game for team. And now all of a sudden, this is the first time that now he's involved in something that it becomes very individual, and that's against his kind of nature.
Exactly, and the fact that the Yankees are running away with it. If they were in a tight pennant race, that would eliminate the the individualistic part of this accomplishment.
Tying runs on with 1 out. 1-2 to Castillo. And he slaps one over short into left field, a base hit. Reed will be held at third with Coghlan playing so shallow. And now the Mets have the bases loaded and David Wright coming up. Third hit of the night for Luis Castillo.
Well, Keith, for me, I just don't understand why pitchers, when they go against Luis Castillo, they continue to try to pound the outside part of the strike zone, especially with 2 strikes. That's all he's going to do every single time.
They're asking for trouble.
Well, Freddie Gonzalez has gone a long way already with Brian Sanchez. Has given up 4 hits in an inning and a third, but he'll stay in to face Wright with the bases loaded. David is 0 for 4 lifetime against Brian Sanchez. Tying run at second, go ahead run at first in a 4-2 game. And Wright first pitch swinging, a slider, 0-1.
Pretty much straight away on David. Big gap in right center field. Infield back, of course. Can see a run, try to get a double play here.
Wright has struck out, lined out, and grounded into a double play tonight. 0 for his last 10. And now he's in a 0-2 hole. Carlos Beltran, first game back after missing 70 games on the disabled list. Might put himself in a storybook situation.
Those are nice signs.
1 and 2 to right. Mets have 10 hits tonight. They got a run on a sacrifice fly by Tolle in the 4th and a run on an infield single by Castillo in the 5th. So they're still waiting for that one big hit.
He stayed inside twice there. I think.
Well, he's got those at wide grip, but just try to pound him inside. One was neck high. This one a little better pitch. Tied up David inside.
Throw that little splitter in the dirt.
Got to take a shot at it.
Struck him out. Sanchez gets right for the second out of the inning. So David unable to get that runner home from third. And that's been a bugaboo all year long.
But it sets the stage for Mr. Beltran.
Little tight slider here right on the outside corner. Starts it on the corner. Drifts it about 6 inches outside into the glove of Baker.
It's almost like a little cutter, Ronnie, almost.
And it's set up by what? 2 fastballs inside the right and then opened up the outside.
So now Beltran with the bases loaded and 2 down. Carlos hit a fly ball double his last time up. 1 for 3 in his return. And he takes high for ball 1. Here we are. Bases loaded, 2 out. The Mets this year with the bases loaded and 2 out are 4 for 54.
But Mr. Beltran has missed most of that.
That's right.
Yes, he has. And Sanchez working him carefully. It's 2-0.
Well, Hanley Ramirez is going to go in and have a chat with Sanchez, and Sanchez has put Mr. Beltran in the back seat. He is in the rocking chair for a driver's seat. Excuse me.
Oh, there are some backseat drivers.
That's right. See, I got thrown out with that sandwich. He can't go for the sandwich here.
He's just going for the mustard.
Best count ever for a hitter. Bases loaded, 2-0. Pitcher's got to throw strike.
Yep. A base hit could tie it. An extra base hit could give the Mets the lead as Tatis scrambles back. Reed, Tatis, and Castillo, the base runners, with 2 out. And Beltran takes a big rip and fouls it back.
He just got it inside enough and beat Carlos in. You just cannot let him extend those hands. In enough. And that's upstairs where Carlos loves it. A big, powerful follow through of Beltran. Oh, they got their signs working.
A latter day Carl Earhart. Hit in the air to deep right field. Back goes Ross, and he's got room right near the wall to make the catch. Beltran just missed. 70 games on the sidelines, 1 big cut, and just comes up short of a go-ahead grand slam. To the 8th, 4-2 Florida. exclusive player and coach interviews. There's a place for that. Mets blog presented by Verizon, featured on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Brian Stokes comes on to pitch the 8th inning. Jorge Cantu leads off for the Marlins. Cantu 1 for 3 on the night. He takes ball 1. Wilson Valdez in at shortstop. He'll bat 9th. Stokes hits in the 8th spot. Pop foul backing out of play. 1-1 to Cantu.
That's Brian Stokes' numbers for the year. 59 games, 2-4. 37 strikeouts and 59 and a third. I think as Brian goes along and that slider gets better and better, that strikeouts to inning ratio is going to only increase.
Stokes, the 5th Met pitcher of the night. Tim Redding went the first 5, allowed 4 runs and 5 hits. Elmer descends a scoreless inning. Ken Takahashi and Sean Green combined for a scoreless 7th.
Sliding strike by Beltran, and he makes the play. Carlos Beltran taking a base hit away from Jorge Cantu. Well, the Gold Glover's back in center field.
Tells you a lot about the feeling about his leg. He showed great speed in closing on this baseball, and a nice slide, pop-up slide for the out.
Nice play.
Well, Beltran barely missed on his attempt at a grand slam. Now shows off his glove, and Baker takes low ball 1. Baker 0 for 2 and a walk, and a good off-speed pitch by Stokes. 1-1. They've gone to the bottom of the 9th in D.C. with the Phillies leading the Nationals 5-3. And Brad Lidge, who has already blown 10 saves, is on to pitch. Toby Stoner, just called up by the Mets today, is up in the bullpen. Probably just getting some work in. Castillo gets in front of that grounder. And quickly Stokes has the first 2 outs in the 8th. Well, here's Beltran in the last inning.
Well, he just missed this one. Wants it away, right down the pipe, maybe a little in. Looks like he's in a ground ball, but he just got under it. Well, it's a big hang with him. And he knows he just missed it.
By that much. David Wright unable to field the grinder. Valdez from the hole, too late. So David Wright unable to pick up that quick second hop. And Ugla is aboard with 2 out. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin and a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. All right, Chris. Now Cody Ross, who's 1 for 3, doubled back in the 4th and scored a run. That last play, they have not yet scored.
We're waiting anxiously, Bill. It's not a tough one.
I guess the official scorer might be waiting to see a replay.
Maybe he has a silent 8th.
Come on, Bill. Bill.
What would you call him, Keith?
I'd call him E5.
I agree with you. And he just called it an error. He must have heard what you said.
No, he didn't. He makes his own decision.
Yes, he does. So David charged with the first error of this game. And for Wright, his 14th of the year. Stokes ahead on Ross 0-2. And he fouls that one. 96 from Stokes. The number 8 hitter, Cameron Maben, who has a 2-run homer tonight, waiting on deck.
That's the difference in this ball game right now.
And Ross takes it for a call, 3rd strike. First strikeout for Stokes. To the bottom of the 8th, 4-2 Florida. Scouting reports during your playing days.
Well, I'll go first. They were not as in-depth as they are today. In fact, we were lucky enough after we got Gary Carter, of course, from the Expos, that he really was the computer. He was the guy who knew the entire National League, and he kind of, because we were so young, really went with whatever he called. There were very few shake-offs of Gary Carter because that's how good he was.
But you were young then,
yeah.
And so, but you learned your own deal through experience. Not so much the hitting. I mean, the defense. I would look more for defense. Not so much. There was hardly anything about what the pitchers threw, and you just had to file it in your brain every at bat you had and learn the tendencies of the pitcher and the catcher. Now, defensively, you had charts, but then again, you learn through your own experience.
Wes Helms in to play 3rd base. Matt Lindstrom on to pitch for the bottom of the 8th, and Daniel Murphy takes inside for ball 1.
Matt Lindstrom, who has now been the 8th inning man. Leo Nunez, who is now the closer. Keith, you were talking about defensively. Would you play counts if you're at first base and one of your pitchers is not having the best day, and he would get to 2-1, 3-1? Would you anticipate the ball being pulled or no?
Depends on the hitter.
Yeah, okay.
Just always depend on the hitter. Some pull hitter, left-hand pull hitter, yes. You know, the guy that I always wanted to get, I got burned on only once, was the right-hand hitter that would hit a line drive down the right field line. There's very few hitters that did that over my career that could naturally drive a ball down the right field line. They're all my ball hitters. Phil Gardner was one.
Yeah.
And he burned me one time in the Astrodome. It was a Cardinal. I was playing in the hole where I always like to play, and I never played Phil Gardner again in the hole.
Yeah.
I always played him right, pretty much where Nick Johnson's playing
straight up
Murphy right now.
1-2 to Murph. And he cracks one to right field, but right at Cody Ross for the first down.
So I'm just more or less saying that, you know, if you faced, it doesn't matter the pitcher. You know, you'd ask the veteran, so what does he like to do? I go to Luke Rock. Well, you know, he's a breaking ball pitcher. Behind the count likes to throw his breaking ball. And then you go up and learn on your own.
Here's Jeff Francoeur, who's 1 for 2 and a walk today. Mets have 10 hits, but they left him loaded in the 7th. Mets have left 8 runners on base tonight.
You know, Gary, I think it's like anything else. The learning curve for each player is a very individual thing. Some can take all that information, they can process it and use it to the best of their ability. Other guys just really need to use their own kind of natural abilities in them, and that's how they succeed. So I think it's, you know, really important, one, when you become a pro and you know your own body, know what you can do, that's when you start to incorporate other things in that might help you. But you got to know yourself first.
Is it harder for guys who are the best athletes and were dominant growing up, as Lance Broadway gets up again in the Mets bullpen, is it harder for them to incorporate other information because they've had so much success?
Again, Gary, it depends on the individual. There are some players that were tore up from the get-go because they were intelligent and bright too and picked up. And then there were those that just did it because they had the raw tools and just went up there and see the ball and hit it. And sometimes I think that you can outthink yourself sometimes. It happened to me quite a bit. Instead of, I think maybe I was a better hitter when I was, 25 and hungry and looking fastball and reacting to the ball.
Yogi Berra always said you can't think and hit at the same time.
Leave it to Yogi to put it so succinctly.
I think the problem that I suffered from, Gary, is that I would start to meet these pitching coaches and people that were on the road with the teams, and they had been accomplished great pitchers, and I had I knew the history of the game, and I appreciated their efforts when they were players, and it was hard not to incorporate what they told you as gospel, as not gospel. Like whatever they would tell you, you go, boy, I'm going to definitely try that.
Frank Curl lifts it to right center, and Maben with plenty of room. 2 out. So Lindstrom's come on and retired the first 2. Game 2 of this series tomorrow night. Pat Mish will go for the Mets. He's looked awfully good in his first 2 starts. Ricky Nolasco's had a very strange season. Up and down and bad and good, but good lately.
Yeah, very good lately.
6:30 the coverage tomorrow night on SNY.
Since we're splitting it, Keith, I'm going to do Mish. You've got to study up on Nolasco, so you got him down pat for tomorrow.
But I already did my homework on Mish.
I'll give you my notes. Here's Josh Thole with 2 out, and he takes ball 1. Thole drove in his first big league run with a sacrifice fly in the 4th. Mets were down 4-0. Got a run in the 4th, a run in the 5th, but still 2 shy as they bat against their former property, Mr. Lindstrom, in the 8th. Mets traded Matt Lindstrom and Henry Owens to the Marlins and got back Jason Vargas and Adam Bostic.
Well, not every trade can work out, but I think that's one that Omar wishes he probably didn't make.
Well, Vargas bounced to Seattle this year and actually had some really good starts for the Mariners. Bostic, though, has really failed to develop in the Mets system.
And then don't forget that Henry Owens has had arm troubles with the Marlins, but Lindstrom has really done a nice job for the Marlins.
Omir Santos on deck to pinch hit for the pitcher, who's sitting in the 8 hole. 2-1 to Thole, fouled away.
That's a nice angle. Very nice. Looks like all the old footage in the old movies.
Looks like they're sitting in shallow right center field, doesn't it?
This looks like where's William Bendix right now to take a swing.
It's a great shot.
Thole pounds one into the ground down to first. Nice stop by Johnson, and Lindstrom over to cover to end the inning. 1-2-3 inning. We head to the 9th. 4-2 Florida. throw 300 innings in a season. J.R. Richard, Nolan Ryan, Steve Carlton.
Of course.
Cy Young winner in 1980, went 24-9 that year with the Phillies.
So that's
in their World Championship season.
28 years ago.
304 innings, 286 strikeouts.
Big lefty. What a beautiful motion.
My guess was I thought it was going to be one of the American League guys from the Athletics in '81 when they were playing Billy Ball, and guys like Rick Langsford were getting all those complete games. Mike Norris.
Well, it couldn't have been 81 because that was the strike year.
Yeah.
That made 80.
80, I mean, yeah.
Lefty was one of those guys, Ronnie, like Blyleven. He just had, whatever he did, had got so much spin on his breaking ball.
Maben lines one into left field, a leadoff base hit. So Maben, who had a 2-run homer back in the 4th inning, has his second hit of the night, the first off Brian Stokes. So a runner aboard, and now Emilio Bonifacio will come up to pinch hit. And I would presume the Marlins will get Leo Nunez in the 9th inning. Nunez, who blew the save on Sunday in Washington and gave up the walk-off home run to Ryan Zimmerman.
Might be want to look for a bunt.
Yeah,
the bunt's in order. These are big games for the Marlins.
Yeah, they got to play for the insurance run.
They need to win to stay 6 behind the Phillies, who have won tonight at Washington. See the Mets playing for the bunt. In that game, Lidge gave up a hit and a walk in the 9th, got 1 out, and they pulled him and brought in Ryan Madsen to get the save.
Yeah, Charlie Manuel's getting tired of that act with Brad Lidge, who's really struggled for this season. 10 blown saves.
Well, the Nationals got the bases loaded with 2 outs, but Madsen closed the door.
Bunted hard to Murphy, turns down the play at second and gets the sure out at first. He had designs about going for the lead runner, but Maben too fast.
Well, he had a shot, but I thought that I heard Tolley saying 1. I could have been wrong, but he's out by a mile. Usually Murph very aggressive.
So 1 out, an insurance runner at second base. Jerry Manuel on his way out to the mound with the left-hand hitter Coughlin coming up. Pedro Feliciano will come into the game. We're in the 9th inning. The Marlins lead it 4-2. We'll be right back. '74th outing for Pedro Feliciano.
The lefties are only hitting 223 off Pedro. 33 strikeouts and needs a couple here. Get through this inning, keep the Mets close.
Chris Coughlin tonight 0 for 3. Walked, stole a base, scored a run in the third. Nick Johnson, another left-hand hitter on deck, with Maben at second and 1 out. 4-2 Florida, 9th inning. And Feliciano falls behind 3-0 on Coughlin.
Boy, that just kills you as a manager, right? When your pitcher comes in and goes 3-0.
Well, Pedro is usually very, very good. He has had a terrific year, Pedro.
Coughlin, of course, has a hitting streak working here.
14-game hitting streak starting the ninth. Yankees win. Get a run in the bottom of the ninth. Nick Swisher's second home run of the game. That's 90 wins now for the Yankees. 40 games over 500.
Wow.
(3-1) to Coughlin.
Checks the swing. He went around.
Well, they were ready to hang Joe Girardi by the highest oak tree along in early May.
They are letting Tampa Bay know that they are on their way to having a tea time for Monday after the season's done.
The Rays are just about out of it now. 8.5 back in the wild card, with Boston winning tonight. 3-2 to Coughlin. Struck him out. Feliciano comes from a 3-0 down to get Coughlin for the second out of the inning.
Most important out for a reliever is that first out when he comes in. A nice job by Pedro working his way all the way back. Good sinker down and in.
And Feliciano has now retired his first batter 57 out of 74 times. That's 77%. So translate that the other way. That means the first batter has a .230 on base percentage against him. That's fantastic. Nick Johnson has doubled and walked twice, 1 for 2.
He's going to have to make sure he throws that ball, fastball in on Johnson too at times. So if you stay away from Johnson, he'll shoot that ball over the shortstop's head. Very good hitter against left-handed pitching.
Lance Broadway up again in the Mets bullpen. He's been a 3-act play out there tonight.
Now, you know, with the open base here, and that's the big run to drive in as a hitter. When it's a lefty-lefty, you know that Feliciano's in there to get you out. No matter how good a hitter you are, he's going to come after you. His job is to get the left-handed out. And don't even put the thought in your head that he might nibble here and there because he's got an open base, because Jerry's going to pull him if he walks.
But this is a guy that Pedro's had trouble with. Nick Johnson 4 for 6 lifetime against Feliciano. But now Pedro ahead of him 1-2. Leo Nunez up in the Florida bullpen getting ready for a save opportunity. How about Nick Johnson wearing the shin guard on the back leg? How many guys have you ever seen do that?
You don't see that very often. Wow.
Breaking ball just missed. 2-2.
You know, I asked Nick Johnson once where he got his great eye, because he started in the Yankees farm system and he was with some of those good teams that really worked the count. They were one of the few first teams that really worked the count. And he said he's been like this since he was a kid. He's always had a great eye at the plate.
Yep.
Two-two. Struck him out. Feliciano with back-to-back strikeouts. So he gets the job done in the top of the ninth. Now the Mets go to work in the bottom.
He stayed.
best in HD free with IOTV. By Dunkin' Donuts, by Acela, and by AT&T, your world delivered. Tonight after the post-game show, it's 30 minutes of highlights, analysis, and in-depth coverage of all things New York sports on Geico Sports Night tonight after the post-game and at 1 a.m. right here on SNY. Ninth inning, Leo Nunez on to try and get his 19th save. Omir Santos to pinch hit, leading off in the last of the ninth. And he takes low and away for ball one.
Well, Nunez coming off a tough outing in Washington when they came back and beat the Florida Marlins. And as you've seen with a lot of these relievers, sometimes it comes in bunches where they struggle.
Well, right now, Omir, he cannot hit a 3-run or 2-run home run. He's got to get on base. Base hit mode right here.
Omir is 2 for 7 as a pinch hitter this year. And he bangs one toward the middle. Ramirez backing off to play it. And he throws out Santos for the first out of the last of the ninth. So one away now. Wilson Valdez will be coming up. Well, the American League Central looks like it's just about over. The Twins lost tonight. The Tigers lead. That would be their 7th win in a row. And the team, Jimmy Leland's team from Michigan, will go up by 7.5.
Well, the Tigers
win that game.
Tigers just pulled away. They've just played great.
Well, they're getting some good pitching from Nate Robertson now, the left-hander. Justin Verlander is a Cy Young candidate.
And Edwin Jackson's been terrific to them this year.
But I believe that Fernando Rodney, who has saved games for them, is going to go be fined and also suspended for throwing a baseball into the stands. 3 games. Yep. That's just not thinking with your head. When you're the closer for your team and you're down the stretch drive, you got to use your brain.
Angel Pagan on deck. Mets need a base runner to have a chance here in the bottom of the ninth. And now Nunez ahead on Valdez, 1-2. Tomorrow night, Pat Mish makes his 3rd start for the Mets, his 1st at Citi Field. He was awfully good at 2 very difficult places to pitch, Wrigley Field and Coors Field.
Absolutely.
Valdez lines it to left, but Coughlin is there, and that's the 2nd out. So 2 out and nobody on. Right after Keith and Ron and I are done here, be sure to join Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda for all of tonight's highlights, exclusive interviews. We'll hear from Carlos Beltran about his return to action, Jerry's post-game reactions as well on Lincoln Mercury post-game live right after tonight's game and after all 162 Met games right here on SNY. Beltran almost had himself a storybook.
Yes, he did.
His bases loaded blast coming up just a couple of feet shy at the right field fence in the 7th inning. Now the Mets down to their final out. Angel Pagan takes a strike. Pagan 2 for 4, a single and a long triple to right center, his 9th triple of the year. Tied for 3rd in the league in triples despite just over 250 at bats.
Well, this young man Nunez has some serious movement, doesn't he, on his pitches?
Plus he's got a little splitter to go with it, too. He does throw hard.
So now the Mets are down to their final strike. 0-2 to Pagan. The starter, Rick Vandenherk, had to leave after 4 innings because of stiffness in his back. So the official score is going to have to award one of the Marlin relievers the victory, and it will probably be Brian Sanchez, who pitched 2 scoreless.
Even though he gave up 4 hits.
Well, Beltran's ball goes a little further. He's not a winner. He is a loser.
Yeah,
it's a game of inches.
Luis Castillo, who already has 3 hits tonight, hoping for another turn. Pagan hoping to provide him with 1. One-two. Coughlin has the ground ball, and that'll do it. A 1-2-3 9th inning for Leo Nunez. He saves it, and the Marlins take the opener of this series thanks to 2-run homers by Hanley Ramirez and Cameron Maybin. And the
Marlins with the victory stay 6 games in back of the Phillies in the National League East.
And that's really what cost the Mets tonight, those